Welcome to Nerds Explain It All. I'm Zach.
I'm Lance.
And I'm Steven.
In this episode, we're talking about The Flash. Savior of the universe.
He'll save with a mighty hand, every man, every woman, every child with a mighty flash.
Yeah. You know, I've never actually seen Flash Gordon.
No one has.
That's the problem.
But it's got one of the best soundtracks of all time because it made my fucking queen.
Much like Highlander. Princes of the Universe, you know?
There can only be one.
Yes.
But
Call me Ramirez.
Doesn't make any sense. I haven't seen that either. I've only seen
Whoa, stop.
Yeah.
You've not seen fucking Highlander?
I've seen
He hasn't seen lots of stuff. Don't
seen-
you know this already?
I've seen the TV show.
Okay, fuck Dylan McLeod.
It's Duncan McLeod. All right.
I don't give a shit. Connor McLeod is where it's at. He's the only real Highlander. He's got that awesome gravelly voice. He was Raiden. Come on. And
He was Raiden.
He was Raiden.
and guess what? Guess what? The show didn't have the motherfucking Kurgan.
Yeah, who is on the Flash?
Kurgan.
Who is on the Flash? So it all ties together.
Sure.
Oh, and one last thing we should mention off the top of the show before you guys turn it off and discuss.
Yes.
Lance, tell us about how our Smallville Thursday is going for you.
Smallville Thursdays are pretty fun. Because haven't watched the show obviously since the series finale. I mean, I had some episodes, like some favorite episodes from the later seasons on my former PS3 that is now Zach's. But I haven't watched anything like, older than, season 6 in such a long time. So it's kind of nice to see something from back or some way back in the day. So right now on TNT, Thursday mornings, at 1 a.m. they show 2 episodes of Smallville. We're in season 2, in the midway point of season 2. Last night was Prodigal and Fever. So if you want to catch up and watch some Smallville and see what I'm live tweeting, check that out. It's pretty fun going back and having a nice little trip down memory lane with this show. It's pretty interesting.
And that's at Sir Lance Laster.
That's me.
I want no part of this.
If you want to contribute, I'm using the hashtag Smallville on everything. So.
Yes, hashtag Smallville. Hashtag always hold on to Smallville.
Exactly.
Oh, man. Next episode should be Rosetta, the Christopher Reeve episode.
Yes, I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
However, what I laughed out loud at, like, very, very robustly yesterday, or earlier this morning, I should say, it was that scene in Fever where Jonathan and Clark pull the okey doke on those agents who were coming after them.
Yeah.
And like they end up, pulling Pete over in the car. And like I tweeted about it, but I just have to convey how awesome it was to see like a bunch of these white guys pulling over Pete, the only black character on the show. And he's like, "Is there a problem, officer?" And they're just like, he's like, "He doesn't fit the profile." And they just pull up.
It was a different time.
It was a different time, but it was still funny.
It was a simpler America back in 2002. We'll see how long you keep watching both episodes.
Okay, well, I know coming up here, like I'll do it next week, but then the week after I have an early flight the very next day, so I doubt I'll be able to do it.
Yeah.
But I'm digging it. I'm enjoying doing my live tweets of this.
But yeah,
All those people that are searching for Smallville on Twitter. Okay, I'm searching 10-year-old shows. I did Friends, Frasier, Smallville. That's right.
Dude, speaking of Friends, this is a really random quick aside, but the NBA Finals are going on. Mm-hmm. One of the Cavs players who's injured has a tattoo of the Friends logo. Like this came out today on his arm.
How old is
he? Kyrie Irving.
How old is he?
He's younger than us.
So I mean, like, how does he even know what Friends was? Like,
I mean, Friends was huge. Netflix.
Yeah. That's
but
true.
I mean, is there any story behind it? Does anyone know?
I guess he just likes the show, but it's just funny that he has he likes the show that much that he has a tattoo of it.
Maybe him and his 2 guy friends and 3 girlfriends all like were like, hey, they all pretend like they all like, you're the Chandler of the group, and he was the Joey of the group, and so they all got a tattoo one drunken night.
I doubt Kyrie Irving is the Joey of any group.
Ross and Phoebe would have been interesting because they were like moral opposites.
Well, no, they made Ross got like dumber and dumber as the show went on because when he first started, he was pretty smart.
He's a paleontologist.
about Friends, and obviously this is the Friend episode. At the beginning, they were all like these mild characters. By the end, they became caricatures of themselves. Ross became more neurotic. Phoebe became more weird. You had Joey became like he was like not smart at the beginning, but he became like a complete idiot by the end. Chandler couldn't do anything that wasn't a stupid joke, and Monica became completely OCD. And Rachel
good points.
Rachel stayed the same because Jennifer Aniston can only do one thing. I have problems with Friends. It didn't end very well. Frasier, on the other hand, stayed strong throughout the entire series.
Frasier was awesome.
I stopped watching Frasier after Niles and Daphne got together.
There was a rocky period there when Daphne, I forget what her name is,
the actress.
but Jane something.
Yeah,
she got pregnant.
She got pregnant. Yeah,
She got pregnant.
And they made the story on the show, instead of her getting pregnant, was just
she had like an eating disorder.
And she was so happy that she was with Niles that she started eating too much, and so when she was having the baby, they sent her off to fat camp. It was pretty rocky there, but still strong.
But then I realized after, we're like, man, that show went on like 3 or 4 more years after I stopped watching. So
It did.
It's good. It was good.
It did. They even hooked up Frasier and Roz for a little bit.
Oh yes, I did. I did think I saw a preview of that. Yeah,
Perry Gilpin is so hot.
She is.
Did anybody ever watch Joey, the spinoff?
No, nobody did.
All right, I'm just making sure. All right, so now that's all taken care of. You know what's also a spinoff of a show is The Flash. If Joey is The Flash, then Friends is Arrow. Terrible segue, but let's continue.
Yes, it is.
So The Flash, this first season of The Flash is concluded just about a month ago now, so we're very topical with this discussion. But hey, we do these.
We're talking about the second half of the first series of Flash.
Yeah. So John Wesley Shipp, what are your thoughts? So The Flash season 1 wrapped, like I said, about a month ago. Hey, we do these podcasts when we can. Okay. There was other stuff to talk about in the meantime, like Comic Palooza. We took a week off. We got Jurassic World next week. We had it all planned out, guys. It's all good. So, what did you guys think of the second half of the first season of The Flash? Did it live up to the first half?
Yeah, I think the show got better in the second half. I think it kind of hit their stride, and I think they figured out what they wanted to do and what they wanted to be, what type of show they wanted to be. Mm-hmm. And because they started off really well with the Rogues, like they started off like really, pardon the wording here, but they started off really fast. Right back in the action. We get introduced to more of the Rogues.
The Heat Wave.
With Snart. Yeah, with Heat Wave. With Snart.
I love Heat Wave. I like Heat Wave more than Captain Cold. So Dominique Purcell from Prison Break fame. I know him from John Doe. But
yeah, I didn't watch those. Stuff like kind of escalates from there, but I think they've kind of really found their footing. In the second half, especially when we got to the Mark Hamill episode, the All-Star Team Up episode. They had a really good, cool little stretch of good episodes. Right. When Snart's sister comes around, the Harrison Wells episode.
Just expanding the mythology.
Yeah.
What about you, Steve?
I liked it.
All right. For this episode of at all. We may not break the news, but we do break it down. See ya.
I completely agree with Lance. And put it very well that it was good in the first season, but they really hit their stride in the second season.
Second half.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
You watch too much Doctor Who.
And they completed a lot of they finished a lot of things that they had started in the first season, and I like that it's sort of, and we'll talk about it, but I like that a lot of things were
resolved.
Resolved, and because it would have been so easy to leave everything as a cliffhanger at the end of the whole season.
Yes, for sure. So obviously the overarching plot of the first season is the Reverse Flash and also the death of Barry's mother.
Yes.
And so after he's met the Reverse Flash, his whole goal for the second half of the first season is becoming faster, becoming better. Obviously, it's been revealed that Harrison Wells is the Reverse Flash.
Yes.
Tom Caraval is amazing. He did a great job on this show.
Oh yeah.
Just every scene he was in, like he had like a double meaning to everything he'd say, and it was great. And he was a really joy to watch. And it's gonna be weird when he's not that character anymore next season because spoilers, people. So Harrison Wells, it was revealed that he He was a real person. Harrison Wells was a person who lived in, actually Starling City.
Starling City.
When the Reverse Flash went back in time, he took his identity and used a device from Fringe to take his face. I mean,
I'm glad I wasn't the one that
what
caught
the
that.
hell? I mean, what a ripoff.
Was it the same,
Prop? Very well may have been.
Could have been.
That was a twist. That I didn't expect that. I expected Harrison Wells to be, I'm a time traveler, so I'm going to invent this, H. Wells, I guess that's a little too on the nose. But it is questionable how much technology Reverse Flash brought back from the future with him. He brought Gideon, and he also brought this device. He has a utility belt. Is that what he's got in there?
Sort of.
He was obviously the main villain in the second half. There was other villains, like you mentioned, Lance, the Rogues. We meet Snart's sister, who was eventually called the Golden Glider. She actually played Lucy Lane on Smallville.
She did.
I did like in that episode about the Ghostbusters reference, like don't cross the streams.
Yeah.
Cisco continues to be one of my favorite characters on TV.
Cisco and Joe are the best characters on this show.
One of your favorite characters.
Your favorite, Steve?
He's like hilarious. He's basically my older brother Brian. With hair. He
would usually, the comic relief character is a tough spot to be in, but he delivers every time. So like he could easily be a character you hated, but he's so funny and so consistently amusing, and just a good character all around. There's more to him than just being the funny guy too.
Yeah.
So the next episode after that, they introduced the Pied Piper. I thought those episodes were kind of lame, to be honest. The guy with the sound waves and stuff. Which is the one where Caitlin and Barry get drunk? Is that episode? I think it is. Or it might have been one of the Pied Piper episodes. But it was that was a great scene, and any excuse to get Grant Gustin to sing because being on Glee and stuff.
That's right. Get your Glee on, Barry.
But that felt the most Smallville to me out of any of these episodes of The Flash.
One thing that Flash does a lot less than Arrow is get all CW on us. Mm-hmm. And, that was a very CW moment.
Well, then he met his new girlfriend, Linda Park.
Yeah.
Who I thought was great. And they were a lot better together than him and Iris. It was classic. That was classic Smallville, the fact that, like, he's so hung up on this girl, Iris, the Lana component. Sure. And yet he meets all these new girls, but, like, they're not Lana. So
make Caitlin the, Chloe was it?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it amazes me. And Iris... She is the least annoying of all of them. Don't get us wrong, of all the female love interests. But it amazes me how like poorly
formulaic.
Well, no, it just the CW continues to cast like people with no chemistry as their leads, and then the secondary female character has all the chemistry with the lead. I mean, look at it. Look at Smallville. You got Lana and Chloe. Okay, Arrow. You have Laurel and then Felicity. Of course, that has
flipped.
Maybe that's a warning. Maybe you shouldn't do that.
Well, hey, Oliver had the most chemistry with Sarah. So
yeah, Sarah's the best on Arrow. I mean, she should totally be the one Oliver ends up with, being the Black Canary. But But now she's the White Canary. So I see how they can do that. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic.
That's a different
show.
podcast.
But I enjoyed that Barry kind of had a life. Like getting ready for his first date. And Joe was talking to him. He's like, "If you change one more time, I'm gonna shoot you." So
Joe is the best.
Joe
and
probably
Cisco are the best characters on the show,
and they had the presence of mind to put them together and team them up.
Yes,
and then they play off each other so well. When they're investigating, actually the death of Barry's mom, and they go to Barry's old house.
When Lita shows up,
Chase Masterson.
I have a bullshit device that will allow us to see pictures of.
Come on, it's technobabble. Give him a break.
No, I can believe that a man somehow got the Speed Force and became the fastest man on the planet, but that whole mirror magic bullshit, fuck it.
I do wonder if they're going to use that to introduce the Mirror Master at some point, who should be played by Prison Break's William Fitcher. Am I right? I mean, just come on, keep it going.
Keep going.
But they brought back Firestorm, Stephen Amell's cousin, Robbie Amell.
I didn't really know a lot about Firestorm. Like, all I knew about him was from Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Right, because he's not really in any. He appears in really big stories, and other than that, I know nothing of him either. Yeah,
and it's kind of sad. I'm wondering if they're just doing it like a play on Caitlin Snow becoming what's her name? Frost.
Killer Frost. Yeah.
Frost.
Killer Frost. I wonder if that's actually. I'm guessing that's probably going to happen at some point. Although I don't want
we
it.
saw it in the season finale.
That's right. That's right.
Saw it in the Speed Force, yeah.
So, I mean,
Fire and
whatever.
Ice.
Yep.
Because she is traditionally a Firestorm villain. So.
Yeah, I know. I do like the fact that I don't know. Firestorm's a cool hero because he's got the two parts in him, and there's this goofy doctor in his head going, "Actually, Felix, blah, 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 blah."
Sure, he says it just like that.
It is an interesting. They really play off each other well, so it's a good pairing between him and Victor Garber.
Yeah,
Dr. Stein.
Yeah. But it turns out that Dr. Stein is actually working for the CIA as well.
Is that from Alias? Okay.
Alias.
I thought so. Yeah.
Sorry.
It took me a second there, Steve. It took me a second.
Arvin Clone.
You know, the thing about The Flash is the end of every episode feels like it could be a season finale. And it's something
true.
It's something I used to say about Arrow until it became the Elicity show. Because I mean, at the end of the Firestorm episode, the two-parter there, he blows up, and the Flash has to run and save Caitlin. I mean, that could be for Smallville. That's like a season 5 finale, and this just happens to be the end of one episode in the Flash.
However, I think they're like one of their biggest, like the best, endings they had to an episode was the one where he goes back in time.
Yes, Out of Time. Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
that's my favorite episode of the show so far.
Yeah, for real.
Well, the whole premise of that episode is all this crazy stuff is happening, like the weather. Say that 5 times. The rubber baby buggy bumpers. The weather. I can't say it.
Weather wizard.
The weather. Thank you. That guy. His brother comes back, and it was established, to be fair, that he has a brother. Okay.
Yes.
So that's fine. But I am getting tired of everyone. There being 2 of everyone. Right. There's 2 Deathstrokes. Right. There's 2 weather wizards.
Lance sisters.
There's 2. Yeah. There's 2 Black Canaries. Like, can we not just have one? Oh, but so much happens in that episode with the Out of Time episode where he goes back in time. One of the questions left in the mid-season finale was, how did the Reverse Flash escape from his containment field? And how was there really 2 Reverse Flashes there? Seeing as Harrison Wells is the Reverse Flash, how could he, quote-unquote, beat himself up? And, I had my theories. I thought maybe he was himself from the future and had come back in time to a certain, like maybe just a day or something like that, some weird predestination paradox thing.
Yeah.
But they established the whole speed mirage thing where he can move so fast, there's a double of himself, and he programmed a hologram of the Reverse Flash.
Woo!
Yeah, so that I didn't see that coming. So Cisco discovers it. And then it's very interesting because he gets Caitlin to keep Wells out of Star Labs. He does his investigation. He finds out, and that's when we find out as the audience that his name is Eobard Thawne. He's the Reverse Flash. He's from the future, and this is all stuff that comic fans we know. But it's great to see it revealed so early in the show.
Yes.
And then he kills Cisco.
No!
And it was a very emotional scene too because he tells him, like, you're like a son to me, but you've been dead for centuries, and he kills him with the classic Reverse Flash move with the vibrating hand through the chest. And then meanwhile, Weather Wizard is I can say it now. Weather Wizard is starting a tidal wave. He's kidnapped Joe because Joe killed his brother. So he blames Joe for the death of his brother because he killed him. And he's like kidnapped him. He's broken his legs. Joe looks like crap.
Yeah.
And then he's going to create a tidal wave to wipe out Central City. So Barry has to run so fast to stop the tidal wave that he runs back in time to the beginning of the episode, which it was previously established there was
another Flash
Flash. He saw himself, so it all tied together. And they had those goofy standout moments that was the same moment in time.
Yes.
Like, I'm gonna miss my taxi. And the guy with the sign going 360 and all that stuff. I guess it was a Quantum Leap reference at the end. He's like, oh boy.
Yep.
And that's how the episode ends.
I didn't expect them to do that so fast. The whole traveling through time.
Because it's the Flash. Sit fast.
I know, but it's just.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
I thought they would be saving that, much like Fringe saved like parallel universes and stuff. I thought the Flash would save time travel, but they did. They tied it all together into the bigger story they were telling.
Yeah,
with Reverse Flash, obviously time traveled. Because, they weren't thinking in terms of time travel before this. They just thought somebody killed his mom 15 years ago. They didn't think, oh, well, someone came from the future to kill my mom 15 years ago. So that really opened up a whole nother line of thought. And then the next episode, now people would criticize it for saying, oh, there was a big reset button. No, because Barry remembers everything.
Yeah.
And then you see the same things happen in different ways. Like, even though Reverse Flash, Wells, he's a time traveler, he's really hypocritical because he tells Barry, like, hey, don't change anything, don't do anything, don't mess with the time stream. Although Wells just is completely effed up the time stream.
Yep.
You see the same events happen, but in a different way, like the timeline correcting itself. Like Cisco found out the secret in the first episode, so Wells confronted him and killed him. Iris's boss found out. Well, he didn't quite find out that he was Reverse Flash, but he found out that Wells.
But yeah, he was putting the pieces together.
And
was kills him.
And he killed the guy, the president of the United States from Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
Agent Sloan from Section 31. The Grim Reaper from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
That guy.
Simon Stagg, yes. Stagg Industries, who created Metamorpho, who I guess he's not going to in the Flash.
I guess not.
But, anyway, he put together that whole story and he was going to release it, and Reverse Flash confronts him and kills him. And Cisco, it's revealed later on down the line, Cisco actually has memories of this. He has nightmares.
Yes.
And you think, why wouldn't anyone else do this? But that is one of his powers, his vibe, is seeing through parallel universes.
It feels like they almost fell into that. They just needed to happen. They're like, wait a second, this actually makes sense. Because I don't know. Maybe it's just such good writing. Yes, it feels like they were like, because they needed him to be able to see back, and they're like, wait a second, isn't he a superhero at some point? And
that's true.
And they look into it like, oh my god, this actually makes sense.
It really did work well because you can't have everyone remembering the alternate timeline.
Yeah. So, I guess it's just really, really good writing is what it is.
There it is.
They just sort of accidentally stumbled upon it.
When you create your whole show around time travel, you really have to map it out, or you're gonna paint yourself in a corner. So
why did we bring Jennifer along?
Exactly. And the funny thing is, in this episode, at the end of the previous episode, right before he gone back in time, Iris had confessed her love to Barry.
Yeah.
And he told her it was the Flash, and they kissed, and it was great for him. And then he gets back, a day in time, and he's like, "Oh man, Iris loves me. This is great. I'm gonna talk to her about it." And he talks to her about it, and she's like, "No, feelings haven't changed. You have to stop doing this." And it crushes him, and it's a very interesting way, because that's how it is with people. The external stimulus affects what they say and how they feel. So just because in that moment those feelings might be there, but they're all under the surface.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because, once again, it's creepy because they're foster brother and sister. So,
creepy or hot?
Oh yeah. And after that, we get the Trickster episode.
Yes. This is probably my second favorite episode of the whole show. They bring back Mark Hamill as the Trickster. What did you guys think of that?
He was fantastic.
I think it was my favorite episode. Just because, I don't know, it was just done so well, and there was the best line out of the whole series.
Best line of any series of all time. And did any of us see that coming?
No.
And that's why it just hit me, because we're all nerds, we're tuned into this kind of stuff.
Yes.
But it came out of nowhere. I didn't expect it, and it made perfect sense. It wasn't forced or anything. It was forced, no pun intended. Because the whole premise of this episode is there's the old Trickster, who's Mark Hamill, who is basically himself from the old 90s show with John Wesley Shipp.
Yep.
So, they have the costumes. They even use the music from the show. It was great. And he's in jail, and it's such a Joker thing where he's in jail. Oh, Mark Hamill was an amazing.
He's fantastic.
Amazing.
Everything about his performance was perfect.
So he's an old Trickster, and we were led to believe there's a young copycat Trickster doing things. It turns out that the old Trickster, Mark Hamill, had been working with the new Trickster all along to get him out of jail. Apparently, they had corresponded through snail mail or something.
Yeah.
And they actually take John Wesley Shipp, Barry's dad, Henry Allen, hostage because he's also in this jail. So John Wesley Shipp actually gets to have some scenes outside of jail for a change with Mark Hamill as well. It was amazing. And he pretty much is confirmed that. It was hinted that he knew Barry was the Flash, but after this, it's 100% confirmed.
Oh yeah.
But there's a scene where the young Trickster is asking the old Trickster, he's like, "Why did you pick me?" He's like, "It's in your blood." It's like, "What do you mean?" It's like,
and he says it.
I am your father.
It was awesome.
It was amazing.
See, people maybe nowadays, but I know back in the day, like when they made Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Uh-huh.
Carrie Fisher said, "You cannot make any Star Wars references." But Mark Hamill's always been like, "This is why I'm famous. Let's do it. This is going to be great." He probably saw that and was like, he loved it. And
I'm sure. I mean,
and he killed it.
And usually stuff like that would piss me off. I'm like, oh, really? Like they did that, but this was amazing. It was so well done. You know what I mean, right? The cheesy forced reference is nothing's worth than that. It's like the Big Bang Theory, right? That kind of humor. It annoys me. But it was so well done. Anyway, the other thing about going back in time is Barry actually starts to figure out that Wells is the Reverse Flash.
Yes.
And it's confirmed for him when he's trying to get a bomb off his wrist, and Wells kind of talks him through vibrating through something to get rid of it. Mm-hmm. And he's like, he talks about the Speed Force and all this, and it really confirms to Barry that Harrison Wells is the Reverse Flash. So it's just it's a very important episode, you know.
It is.
And speaking about bringing back people from the 90s, they bring back Tina McGee again in the episode All-Star Team Up, which had Brandon Routh in it as the Atom, and Felicity came over. And the only time Felicity has not been terrible this year on the CW has been on the Flash.
Bees.
That was another Smallville blatant, like that was an episode of Smallville like 15 years ago.
Yeah,
the bees. He made the bee face and everything, just like in that episode of Smallville. Not that good of an episode, to be honest.
It was all right,
but I do love, and this is what a great character Cisco is. He works well with anybody. I love the Cisco and Ray dynamic.
Yeah,
and he's like, oh man, yes, no one else gets names like you do. The high five and stuff. But yeah, the villain in that episode was terrible. So always nice for the crossovers, though. It's always great to see the Flash and Arrow crossover because it's universe building, and I love that.
Yep.
And then after that,
it brings out the best in each show.
And then after that, they have the episode. Speaking of another crossover, they had Captain Lance is in this episode as well as Laurel. Who I love Cisco and Laurel as well.
Cisco and anybody.
Cisco's
the best.
So the subplot of this episode is they find the real Harrison Wells body. Okay. But it's in Starling City because he's from there and whatever. So they go to Starling City and Cisco runs into Laurel, and she knows that he works with Team Flash, and he doesn't know, so he's trying to play it off and all this stuff. But she has him make a canary cry for her. In order to do it, she gives him a picture
of the two of them,
and you're like, what is this gonna be? You're like, and you're thinking like, what is this? Some promiscuous picture of her? She's like, if you tell anyone about this, I'll kill you. And he's like, you're metaphorically speaking, right? And she's like, nope. So she leaves.
Like, bitch, you have 3 weeks of training, okay?
I could probably kill you. So she leaves, and there's this picture in this envelope, and he takes it out, and it's a picture of him and Laurel in the Black Canary costume. It's like some goofy picture you take in like Comic Con.
Yes, exactly. It's like a photo op.
It's so perfect. It was so perfect. Remember that episode? So great. On top of all that, this episode, Who is Harrison Wells, is the name of the episode. We get to see what happened the night that Barry's mom died. And we get to see a Reverse Flash and future Barry run back in time.
It was more of an extended fight. Like you got to see more stuff from because we've seen like some of that beginning before, like especially in the pilot. But this time you got to there was more slow-mo action. You got to see both of them doing what was going on. You got to see Barry take his young self out and leave him there, and then subsequently Thawne getting left behind.
Right, and now I'm convinced now that people were complaining, why is the Flash logo have a red circle and not a white one? I'm convinced the only reason they did that is a plot reason to differentiate the future Barry from the present Barry. So now it doesn't annoy me as much as it did originally. And he'll get the white now. I like in the season finale.
Yeah,
they find the picture and Cisco's like, "Wait, do we make it white because we saw this picture?"
Yeah, I
know. The huge revelation, the big twist about Reverse Flash was he has not always looked like Harrison Wells. You hear him like scream, and that was really scary. Actually, Reverse Flash is always a very intimidating villain, just the way that the voice echoes and that kind of stuff. So he runs out of Speed Force because he screwed up the timeline because Barry's not going to become the Flash because he killed his mom, blah, 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 blah. It sets up everything Reverse Flash has been doing up to this point. But he takes his mask off, and it's not Harrison Wells. It's some other guy. You're like, what is this? This guy doesn't look like young Tom Cavanaugh or whatever. It's terrible casting. But he looks just like Eobard Thawne was in the comics.
Yes.
So, as we mentioned earlier, he tracks down Harrison Wells. He takes his whole premise, though, is like, you create a particle accelerator in the year 2020. I'm going to need that to happen a lot faster. And he set it off, in 2014? Like, 6 years early? BFD. I mean, what is that? What's 6 years, in the grand scheme of things? But he stages a car accident that kills the real Harrison Wells and Harrison Wells' fiance at the time. And I want to say her name is like Tess Mercer, but it's not, is it?
Morgan.
Tess Morgan. Yeah, might as well be Tess Mercer. Come on. Smallville reference. And then he takes over, presumably. See, I'm not really sure how this shapeshifting thing worked. Like, he took over his body, but like, did he get his memories and his knowledge too?
I don't know.
I guess just because he's from the future, he's so
yeah,
smart.
he wouldn't need to get his memories. Remember, she said Tina McGee said he changed.
He was like a different person.
Which is like, look, a different person. Yeah, I get it. But
come on, it's
I mean,
stuff.
I mean, he would not be able to find everything about him because Harrison Wells was a pretty prominent figure. He probably wrote a few books, and so he'd be able to do pretty good research
and
on him.
He's probably sped read them too.
Oh, there you go. Not without the Speed Force. So then the next episode, everything comes to a head. They find out that Harrison Wells is the Reverse Flash. The whole concept is Barry wants to get him to confess to killing Nora. Nora! To free his dad. Because it doesn't matter if they know what happened, like, unless there's some kind of confession. You know, Henry Allen has been convicted of this murder, and they can't just overturn it just because the man in the yellow suit or any of that stuff. So they set up this whole elaborate trap. And they make good use of another the character who Hannibal
Bates.
Hannibal Bates, which is like, look, that's a double horror movie name. That's so unrealistic. That's like Freddy Jason, all right? If your name is like Jason Kruger. Jason Kruger. So, whatever, be that as it may. I thought it was very interesting. It's a shape-shifting character. Of course, every show has to have the shape-shifting episode. Well, there's a shapeshifter, right? Every sci-fi, every genre show.
Well, it's a creepy concept.
It was.
Yeah.
Because you can't see him, who knows who they're going to be.
Right.
Well, I mean, it freaked me out, and it also tripped me out because normally, like, I'm not tripped up by these things, but when that happened, I was like, "Oh snap!"
Anyway, long story short, they put him in the pipeline, and then Harrison Wells uses this shapeshifter to his advantage later because they think they're going to trap Harrison Wells.
Yeah,
Cisco's going to recreate. Well, because Cisco starts to remember all the stuff from the alternate timeline where he found out Wells is the First Clash, and he's like, "I'm going to recreate all this stuff. We're going to have Joe there. We're going to record it. We're going to make sure that." We get Harrison Wells saying, yes, I killed Nora Allen. So you think, the way the episode's set up, you think Harrison Wells, he comes down there, he's going to do what he does again. He starts saying things he's going to say. But it turns out it's not Harrison Wells. It's Hannibal Bates, the shapeshifter. Wells is gone. He apparently he had struck some deal with Bates, like, hey, impersonate me and I'll set you free or something. Mm-hmm. Which I thought was a plot hole because he's talking about things that they would not know. Like he's saying, yes, it wasn't my intention to kill Nora, and I've 15 years and all that stuff. How would Wells have known that that's what happened? You know what I mean? Unless, I guess he was recording, because it's also revealed in this episode he's been like spy on everyone.
Yeah,
There's cameras everywhere. I guess he saw them talking about what Cisco remembered, and he wanted to replicate it to keep the ruse going as long as he could. So that was a pretty clever twist, and they're really using these villains well. Like they have, you think it's going to be a villain of the week. And it is, but they bring him back a couple episodes later and use him in a new way. It's not just like Smallville where they show up and they're gone and you never see him again. There's actually some real continuity. So what do you guys think of Gorilla Grodd?
Yeah.
I loved it because, like, Grodd is a concept that I thought I would never see in live action ever. And
that's the fucking truth.
That's what's so exciting about it, because like they kept teasing it. I was just like, surely they're not going to do it, but it's cool that they're referencing it. But then when you actually when it's a reality and you're just like, holy crap, we have Grodd in this. And granted, it was not like the best thing in the world, but it's certainly much better than I ever anticipated it being.
I mean, season 1, that's hardcore.
Exactly. That's the other thing. It's just, I mean, it's so far fetched a concept of this genius level, like, gorilla with mind control powers, and you see that on a live action television show for the most part. Like, it's ridiculous.
We've been conditioned by Smallville, Lance, where it's like, no, you can't have Darkseid, you can have possessed Lionel Luthor, or you can't have Doomsday, you can have Werewolf Doomsday.
Yeah.
It's just all these compromises. The Flash is not compromising.
Yeah, it's nice to see them like actually have the actual character be the actual character.
Yeah. And one good thing about the way it all turned out is that it made the voice of Grodd motherfucking Kurgan, Clancy Brown, who has like this awesome voice.
Grodd.
Grodd.
Yeah,
I'm Grodd.
Yeah, and
I Grodd to go to the bathroom.
And then
Mother of Grodd.
Did you had to think about Jurassic Park in that Grodd scene?
Yes, of course.
Right, where he gets the construction workers earlier. And it was,
Well,
shoot! This episode was so great. I mean, it kind of felt like filler, to be honest. Like it kind of stalled the momentum, but it didn't matter.
It
didn't matter though,
episode, but it was great
because it was so great, and like I said, CGI gorilla on the CW. Well done, guys. Well, way not to shy away from the material, and that's what Smallville always did. It felt ashamed of the source material, you know, and it's they're only getting they're smart about how they're using Grodd. They're only using him like he's in the sewers. There's smoke around. Obviously you're not going to see him in the broad daylight because there's no way you can really translate that. That's Planet of the Apes money right there. So, but I look forward to seeing him show up in the second season and beyond. I mean, obviously he's going to be around for a while.
And also the sewers make it really like creepy. Like, where is he?
Oh,
but
yeah.
I was always like, why is Barry afraid of this guy? He can just run away. Run away.
Well, he stopped the speed punch, which is very impressive. And then,
Which they don't explain. Why would he be able to do that?
Because he's so smart. Major kudos to Jesse L. Martin in this because he looked terrified.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, he was scared to death. So the last couple episodes, the first one was Rogue Air, and the title didn't make sense to me until I figured out what they were going to do with all the villains. They actually address the whole pipeline thing. Putting all the villains in the particle accelerator. Wells, Thawne, or First Flash, whatever you want to call him, he has reactivated the particle accelerator.
Yes.
It's going to turn on, and they don't know to what end, but it's going to turn on, and when it turns on, it's going to kill all the villains that they've been holding there. They're like, well, we can't just let him die. And so they actually have a really, like, most shows would not even address this, but they actually have a real discussion about, hey, we shouldn't be just keeping these people here.
Yeah.
This is really like, not, it's kind of not on the level. Yeah. So their plan is that they're going to, Barry needs to move all these villains out of the particle accelerator. So he goes and finds Captain Cold, who's listening to Cold as Ice in some bar, which is genius. Yep. Cold as Ice. And he gets his help. He gives him the clean slate. He erases him from the system. And Captain Cold says he'll help him move all these villains out. So, and they get every villain back. I mean, I guess they kind of had to. I don't know how they would have explained it. But they get Doug Jones, who was on Arrow, with the, I don't even know who, the Deathbolt was his name?
Yeah.
They get him. They get the Mist.
Toxic guy.
Yeah, the Mist. The Zaz from Gotham. They get the Rainbow Raider, Prism, from the Crosser episode. Peekaboo from the Nightcrawler girl.
Yep.
And then I think the last one is the Weather Wizard. The Weather Wizard's brother.
He's back.
Their plan is they're going to take them to Ferris Air. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then Captain Cole says, "Hey, didn't they shut this place down?"
And we got our first Green Lantern drop.
And Barry says, "Yes, after one of their test pilots disappeared." So
what?
Yes, but it has nothing to do with Oliver's sidekick Diggle.
Yes, exactly. It's not. His name is not John Stewart Diggle. Okay, but there's been lots of Harris Dara, Hal Jordan references here. This has to happen. Like they have. Look, I understand they want to keep the movies and TV universes separate. You have a TV show starring the Flash. Okay, I think you can let. Yeah, Green Arrow's, but Green Arrow's not going to be in the movies. But the Flash is going to be in the Justice League. He's going to be in the movies. Why can't we just have Hal Jordan and/or Green Lantern down the road appear, on these shows? I don't see the problem, especially if they go with Jon Stewart in the movies as they should. So, anyway, awesome to have a Green Lantern reference like that. And I think it'll go somewhere on this show. They just don't do that just for shits and giggles.
I agree. Well, because remember, Green Lantern is a character that both Flash and Arrow share. Like he's their best friends.
I thought that was the Atom. No. So it's Con Air, right? That's why the episode is called Rogue Air. So they wake up a little early because they gassed him or something like that.
Yeah.
They wake up little. They all start fighting. So they open up. They get to the airfield. They open up the truck. And then they have an awesome supervillain melee battle with like 4 or 5 Captain Coles fighting the Flashes around. It is amazing. It's like nothing you've ever seen on television before.
It was pretty cool, and I think very, because villains don't work together very well. Mm-hmm. They just sort of, because they're all in it for themselves.
They have their own devices and their own motivations.
I mean, I think this is exactly what would happen if you put a bunch of villains in the same place. And I also think it's... that the Flash was stupid to trust Captain Cold. I never got this whole truce thing anyway.
Well, and he still knows his secret identity.
Yeah,
so that's the main reason he kind of lets him do his thing. So then at the end of this episode, you get another fight. You get Oliver and Firestorm and the Flash versus Reverse Flash.
Yeah,
and I still don't get the timing.
How did they have time for that?
Well, as far as I can tell, this is when Oliver, because the timelines of the shows they kind of overlap. So this must be when Oliver was in Starling City in that episode, in Arrow. Because if you remember, there's a scene where he's gone for a while, I guess, on Arrow, and he comes back, and Maceo's like, "Oh, you were gone. So I almost thought you wouldn't return, but I knew you would." And I'm assuming that's just a little hint that he was gone for a little longer because he went to Central City to help out Barry. That's my fan theory. So.
Well, I don't know why they didn't make it clear.
Well, I mean, because they don't want to like overtly reference it. They don't want to make you feel like you have to watch both shows to understand what's going on. And I understand that.
I guess that's true. But
who the hell is watching Arrow and not the Flash? I feel sorry for you. I know there's a lot of, obviously the ratings show this. There's a lot of people watching the Flash that aren't watching Arrow. So
yeah.
I love how Wells tells Oliver, like, history books record you died at 86. So very interesting he lives that long. The three of them together, they defeat Wells. They incapacitate him. Yeah. And they put him in the pipeline for the last episode called So, like, you would that already subverted some expectations because you kind of thought the big Flash versus Flash battle was going to be at the end of the season. So, yes. And they had this whole other episode to deal with the overarching plot, like you said, Steve, tying it all together, the murder of Barry's mom. And this pretty much, the whole season finale it's a lot of emotional beats.
Yes,
it's Barry talking to Iris, Barry talking to Joe, Barry talking to Henry, his dad. And they were all great. They were all great scenes. They were all great scenes.
Can I mention something that I thought was very interesting?
Yeah.
So he's I guess the plot is that Harrison Wells says, "Hey, if you want, you can save your mother, but you got to let me go." Right, that's the whole plot. And so Barry's going to ask people for advice, and so he asks the two father figures. Like, so I think, does he also ask Iris?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he asks Iris and Joe, and they're both like, you should do it. Yeah, that's right, because Iris is like, do something for yourself for once. So the people that grew up with him are like, we don't want to grow up with you. And then his father is like, me and your mother wouldn't want to grow up with you.
That's funny.
Like we liked it the way it happened. Your mom is rather dead.
Let's just let it be. With you. All jokes aside, that is funny. All jokes aside, though, I thought that was a very powerful scene because he's like, look, you're my son. You turned out an amazing young man. I don't want to risk that changing, so I don't want you to change it. I would rather spend the rest of my life in prison knowing my son had a good life than to mix it up like that.
And I like that he very almost made the wrong decision.
Yes. So eventually, obviously he's going to go back. We all know this. So he goes back in time, and he's about to save his mom. But then the future him kind of raises his hand and kind of tells him, "Hey, man, don't do this."
Yeah,
totally cool.
Because he knows what he was going to do. So this implies that actually Flashpoint has probably already happened. And this Barry went back in time and saved his mom. And it went bad, So there's still story to be pulled out of this if they want. So that was just that one little motion, And
that's the biggest draw from the finale is that there's so many possibilities now.
Right, right. I did love that. There's a meme that came from this, and it's hilarious. It's like when you're about to hit up your ex, and it's like your future self waving you off. Words to live by. But yeah, like you said, Lance, there's so many little kernels to set up for the future, like Jay Garrett's helmet. Huh?
Yes, and then everything that you saw in his as he's going through time,
he's running through the Speed Force. Yeah,
Rip Hunter is mentioned.
Yes, who's going to be in Legends of Tomorrow? But yeah, so Barry's running through the Speed Force. This is, I guess, the first time he's really accessed it because first time he's gone this fast, and he sees the Flash Museum. He sees Caitlin as Killer Frost.
Killer Frost.
And he also sees himself in jail. So on who knows what that could be. But it's like, are these different universes or these possible futures? I mean, then it's not really clear, but that's what the Speed Force is kind of vague, intentionally so.
Do the writers even know yet?
No, that's the key.
No, they don't. They have no clue.
So he comes back, and he comes back in time to stop Wells. So Wells is pissed,
and he flies out of that.
Yeah, he it's like CGI Barry flies out of the black hole.
CGI flying flash punch.
It's okay though. I'll give him
Falcon punch.
And he destroys the time bubble that Wells had made for himself. Wells is pissed now because he knows he's like, you didn't do it. Now we're stuck here. Ah. So they fight for a while, but then Wells, of course, obviously overpowers him.
Yeah.
And he's like, here's what I'm going to do. Just to be clear, I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to kill your dad, and I'm going to kill Iris. I'm going to, And he's saying all this, and then you hear this gunshot, and you think that because Joe and Iris and Eddie had all been there to see him off, and Iris and Eddie actually had reconciled in this episode.
They did.
So I mean, Eddie is like a great character. Like these last few episodes, they really built him up to be a great character, and this is why, because you hear this gunshot, and you think it's going to be like the Flashpoint paradox where Thomas Wayne shoots a Reverse Flash, and that's it. No, Eddie has shot himself and committed the ultimate sacrifice. So if he doesn't exist,
and I called that like at least mid-season. I was, as soon as I found out that like Eddie Thawne, Eobard Thawne, like, yeah, he's gonna kill himself to save the day. He has no other purpose.
Right. Well, and they even talk about in this episode. Professor Stein says you were the variable. You were the most important piece of any of this. So he shoots himself, and he has a very heartfelt goodbye with Iris, and she's like, "You're my hero." He said, "That's all I ever wanted to be, your hero," and it's great.
This is going to be an issue for at least the first half of the next season because I'm trying to get over you and I can't get with Barry because I'm so sad. So he's going to get with someone else, and then when I'm ready, he's not going to be ready, and then fucking shit. Third season, maybe third season. Maybe.
All true.
That's exactly how it's going to go down.
But then the black hole, a new black hole opens up. Now, why do you guys think that happened? Because I have my theory here.
Well, one thing I think is very poetic. The first time he used his powers really was the tornado, and then he's got like the super mega version of that at the very last. I mean, it seems like he was just running on the ground, and all of a sudden he can like run and jump from debris. I mean, that seems like a big kind of a no pun intended leap in powers.
Yeah, but they didn't explain where it came from. But here's what I think. I think Eddie killing himself created a paradox, obviously, because if he kills himself, Reverse Flash never existed. But if Reverse Flash never existed, he never had to kill. It's literally the grandfather paradox, of time travel. Yeah. So that's the universe trying to correct itself. That's why a black hole opens up. That's my theory. So and then as you've noticed, he gets pulled into the black hole. So here's what I think is going to happen to Eddie. I think he's going to come back next year, maybe the year after. He's going to be a character called Cobalt Blue. And Cobalt Blue is actually, in the comic books, he's a character called Malcolm Thawne. He was Barry Allen's twin, who was told by the Allens. Well, the Allens were told that he died in childbirth because the doctor delivering that night or whatever, like, accidentally killed someone else's baby in delivery. So he just says, "Oh, I'll take this twin over here and I'll give it to these people." So, and that's the beginning of the Thawne and the Allen feud that lasts for centuries. So I think that's where we're going to go with him because if you remember, the time machine that Wells constructs has cobalt in it.
It does.
Right? There's a blue kind of flame that comes out of the black hole, and also in the comic books, Cobalt Blue, Malcolm Thawne has like this talisman that he wears around his neck, and that's where the power comes from for Cobalt Blue. And they made a really big point to show Eddie wearing this talisman in this episode where he gets sucked into the black hole. He's been wearing that all season. Yeah. So it's another hint that he is actually Barry's brother. Now that's a very soap opera thing to do, but it's a very comic book thing to do.
Comic books are soap operas. So
I think that you're going to go with, and no one has any clue about any of this because no one's as big as nerd as I am as far as this goes. So
that sounds cool.
Yeah,
it does sound cool.
I think that is probably where they're going to go, and I hope it's not till like season 3. Kind of like give it some space. Because let Eddie sacrifice kind of.
Mean something
for a while, and then completely disregard it later on down the road. But I think there's a reason that they made a point where we can't leave Eddie here. No, we got to go, and he gets sucked into who knows where, the Speed Force. I mean, he could come back as an alternate dimension version, or
that's what I'm thinking.
Who knows what's going to happen there? Because so as you were saying, Steve, Barry pretty much runs into the black hole. So who knows where he's going to find himself? I mean, the possibilities are endless. Like, do you think they're going to pick up right after, or do you think it's going to be like 3 months later and Barry's been gone?
I think it's going to be. I think there's going to be a time skip. Definitely.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be like pick up right where we left off. I think there's going to be a time skip.
Well, he's going to meet Jay Garrick. We know that. I mean, that helmet flew out of there. That meant something. Mm-hmm. So.
That also could mean like infinite Earths.
What if Jay Garrett and Barry Allen switch places? Or is that what you guys were talking about?
Something
where
like
all
that.
of a sudden Barry Allen finds himself in this universe where there is a Flash, and maybe it's a more like the Flash has been around a while, but it's Jay Garrett, and then Jay Garrett, an older Flash, comes and and is with the Caitlin and Cisco and all that.
I don't know if this is too meta. But I would love to see an alternate universe where Barry's dad was the Flash and not him. and then they basically like kind of say the '90s show was that
was one of those
his mom,
yeah.
And then his mom was the Trickster.
Yes, Flashpoint. Thank you. I have complete faith in these guys. How they can do anything. I'm sure it'll be good.
The best part about it is in the third season when it starts to get crappy, Arrow will be good again. So
or the Atom will finally be good. So there'll be some spin-off to keep going to.
Well, yeah, Legend of Tomorrow might be good.
Legend of Tomorrow is going to be great. I'm very excited for that.
Only if it's like a 10-season run and that's it. I think, or not 10 seasons.
10 seasons? My God, man.
Just a 10-season, just a small 10-season Smallville size run.
Like a mini-series is what you're saying.
Yeah, a 10-episode run, like Agent Carter.
Yeah.
And I think they could do that beginning to end and then disperse them to their shows. And I think it'd be perfect.
To their shows.
I'm just hoping that they keep, like, their flashness, for as long as they continue to make the show, because like that's Arrow lost its it lost its own groove. It lost sense of what it was in the third season. First two seasons were great. I hope that does not happen with Flash. That's my only main concern. Because and as Steve is alluding to, it happens with every show. It'd be nice if a show stayed true to what it actually is, a genre show especially, for the entirety of their run.
And I think it'll be easier for Flash than Arrow, because Arrow has this like weird, like they're dark, but they also have like the romance stuff like that. I mean, it's hard to be dark completely for 5 seasons. And so when they make Arrow happy, when they make Oliver happy, that's when it gets crappy. I mean, just think of the end of that Arrow. It's God, this is horrible. I wish Felicity would die so we'd have some anger in him again.
On Majesty's Secret Servicer, definitely. Yeah. You're right, though. The Flash, this first season was so good. It's going to be very hard to live up to this first season. Like, this is one of the best first seasons of, like, any show, period. Much less superhero shows. I mean, I rank The Flash is probably my favorite superhero show, like, of all time at this point. Daredevil's good.
Better than Lois and Clark?
Yes, better than Lois and Clark. Daredevil's good, but Daredevil's a really different animal. It's hard to...
Yeah, because it's better. Well, this is great, but Daredevil's better.
But Daredevil is constructed to be, like, one giant thing.
Yeah.
So, no, I get that, but it's still. I mean,
it's kind of apples and oranges. You know what I mean?
You can only do what you have on slate to do. Kind of like in sports, it's like you're only responsible for the people that you play.
Well, Michael Jordan was not a great baseball player, and I don't think Daredevil would be a good show on the CW. So you just proved my point. Thank you, sir.
Not necessarily, but that is a nice stretch, though.
They're both equally good at what they're supposed to do.
But Charlie Cox would be good in Space Jam. I'm sorry, I fell asleep. What's going on?
Well, that's going to do it for our Flash Talk this week on Nerds Explain It All. If you want to join the conversation, find us on Twitter at Nerds Explain. Add us on Facebook at Nerds Explain It All. We're on iTunes. We're on SoundCloud. We're all over the internet. So if you want to follow us personally, I am at Guardian of Forever. That's the number 4 on Twitter. Lance?
I am at Sir Lance Laster.
And I am at Bonesbach.
And do you just not use Twitter anymore? Is that your...
I don't have time for any of this crap, guys. Come on. I will now. I will have more time now. I've recently made a deal with the Empire to keep that.
Well done, sir. Well done. So, for Nerds Explain It All, I'm Zach.
I'm Lance.
And I'm Steven.
And we might not break the news, but we do break it down. See you guys next time, where we talk about Jurassic World. I'm excited. You guys excited for Jurassic World? Oh, come on. You got to keep tempo. I'm very excited for this. I know a lot of people are not as excited, but I think it's going to be great. And we look forward to talking to you about it next time.